elect and to bawat tumay, binigay ko yan kay General Galvez. Solely kanya, sabi ko, i-DO yan lahat trabaho. Then there comes this focus about a vaccine already about to be maliwala kanya sa merkado rin. So, merong na delivery na the thing was spoiled by Secretary Duque. Tignan mo lang yung laro dito sa gobyerno na to. I place it in the hands of General Galvez. Iyo lahat yan. Pagka nagkabulyaso yan, ikaw ang literahin namin. Iyo yan. Well, of course, the policy would be made by General Lorenzana and General Anyo. Itong, sila yan. If it fails, then you have 3 generals to base the firing squad. Ayusin niya. They're there to just assist they do not take anything from Secretary Duque. So, tutulungan lang nilang yan. Pero ito pang vaccine, at what price, what is the brand, kay Galvez yan lahat. So, binigay ko yan sa kanya. Means to say that I trust him to get a good bargain for government. Pero sa ngayon, lahat ng vaccine naman talaga na bumadali. But do not believe in that shit about America delivering kagad. Hindi nga niya ma-deliver doon sa kanyang lugar. Dito pa. Itong Amerikano talaga. Nawala kayo. I've been with government, have dealt with them many times. And that's why I naging cynic ako sa kanila. Kasi wala pa, pasingin na dyan. Kung ibigay, di ibigay. Wala man. If you want to help, if America wants to help, you deliver, stop talking. What we need is the vaccine, not your verbose speeches. Ang kanila lang kasi kay yung visiting forces agreement matatapos na. Ngayon, pag hindi ako pumayag, aalis talaga sila. Kung hindi sila makadeliver ng maski na lang yung minimum of mga 20 million vaccines, they better get out. No vaccine, no, stay here. Lugo talaga ito. Bigay ka, bigay. Wala na marami ingay. So they are put on notice that if you cannot produce the vaccine, 20 million at least, immediately, ay mahirap pa nga dyan mismo in your own country. You choose Pfizer. Pfizer is up to its neck producing it for everybody. And then you promise so many countries of your vaccine. So, ulitin ko, it is only General Galvez, the hero of Marawi. Kaya niya to. So, when is the earliest vaccine, General?
Sir, the Western based vaccine, sir. The earliest, sir, is May, sir. So we are already, we're already 85% of the contract for 20 million for the government and 10 million for the private sector. Then another US-based, India-based vaccine, we might be having our contract signed by January. Pfizer also by January, sir. And also Moderna, we just have initial arrangement for 20 million doses. So all in all, sir, if we will get Novavax, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, J&J, and also Moderna, we might have more or less 80 million doses. And also recently, last at the evening of 24, and also in the morning, the Gamaleya of Russia also negotiated for another 25 million. And for them, the efficacy of Gamaleya is 91.5% for the first dose, and the second dose is 95. So we are asking them to submit the clinical trial number 3. And we hope that if we will be having all this contract closed by January, the earliest, is if we will prove that Gamaleya is very safe and effective, they will produce it on February. On Sinovac, sir, we're still negotiating with the Sinovac Hong Kong. But for now, sir, USEC Borja will make an arrangement again with the ambassador. So there is no answer there is no truth yung sa lumalabas na balita na we are focusing only on few vaccine. It is a portfolio. Basically, ang mauna, sir, is AstraZeneca, yung magiging contract natin. Then next is Novavax from Serum India. Next is Pfizer. And then maybe Johnson & Johnson's. We have also the discussion of the head of terms, and also the supply agreement, and also with Moderna. And then followed by Gamaleya and also the Sinovac. So the contract that we will be having is basically, as I've said, from Novavax, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, J&J, Moderna, Sinovac, and Gamaleya.
Don't mind so much about the cost. The thing here is availability. Kung sino yung mayroong magigay sa atin, never mind if it's a costing kanila, sabi sila, ours is much expensive because it is more potent. Sige, bilihin mo na lang. What's available there, bilihin mo because it's an emergency. Never mind about the costing. Wala na, hindi natin pinapag-usapan yan. Total, hindi makaagad bayad dyan. Hindi, dahan-dahan lang bayad natin next year. Tapos dalawang taon. Then you say that give us another 2 years because our economy is in shambles. So we have no money. Pero kunin mo na, tanggapin mo na. Pero huwag mo sabihin na wala kang pera.
Sir, Mr. President, sir, all doctors are here to allay some fears of the public. Sir, we will follow the ADB World Bank standards. We have 1.3 billion that has been allocated by World Bank and ADB for the stringent qualification of every vaccine that will come here. Sa ADB po, kailangan po na World Health WHO accredited ang vaccine na papasok sa atin. Pangalawa, sir, is kailangan may stringent regulation coming from US, either US, UK, or other senior countries. And then yung World Bank po mas mataas, either 2 or 3 SRAs. At saka kailangan po talaga dumaan po sa vaccine expert panel po natin at saka po sa ating FDA bago po natin makuha. So napaka-stringent po. Kaya po kami po na gusto natin i-announce sa ating mga kababayan na yung pinipili po natin na vaccine is very safe and effective considering that they will follow our stringent procedures. And at the same time, they will follow the stringent procedures of the our fund manager, yung tatawag nating procurement agent, which is the ADB and the World Bank, and the EEIB. Yun po.
I'd like also to call the attention of Atty. Domingo sa FDA. Yeah. Doktor? Doktor ka ba? Abogado ka. Nanay mo ang abogado. Ano yung doc? Yung ganito yan. If it is already, it has passed the scrutiny of countries like the United States and made available to its citizens, UK, huwag mo na patagalin yung process para kung ano man ang dating sa inyo, gusto mo ikaw muna magtusok sarili mo yun, tapos if nothing happens to you, then let it go in a jiffy.
Yes, Mr. President, pag naman po galing na sa stringent regulatory authority like the US FDA or UK, minimal na lang po yung additional requirements natin. Ano na lang po, stability sa Pilipinas, sa klima natin. And of course, some information lang po doon sa clinical trial nila na showing na yung efficacy niya in safety in an Asian population is also similar to the general ginamit po kasi nila usually mga puti. So meron naman pong mga 5% dyan usually na Asian, at pag hiniwalay naman natin, nakita natin na pareho din yung efficacy and safety niya, okay na po sa atin yon. Tapos yun lang po, kailangan lang siguraduhin natin na yung niregister talaga nila sa Amerika halimbawa, yun din yung dadalhin nila dito sa atin. Baka po kasi mamaya ibang factory pala yung, o ibang paraan. So we just have to make sure that the product that is registered in the US, for example, is the same product that will be brought here. At yun lang pong mga konting local requirements lang po natin for stability dito po sa Pilipinas. Kailangan lang po mapakita na pag binyahe naman siya papunta rito, hindi nasisira po yung bakuna. Pero mabilis lamang po, basta po galing sa mga stringent na regulatory authority.
How about, let me ask you, how about the Chinese? Yung nila,
we expect din po na mag-apply din sila probably by January because yung pong clinical trial phase 3 nila is wrapping up ngayong December at lalabas na daw po yung interim results nila. So once we have that, then we can have an evaluation. Yun nga lang po, medyo mas stricto lang po kasi wala pa pong pinanggalingang ibang FDA counterpart. But the vaccine expert panel po nila Dr. Montoya at sila Dr. Nina Gloriani, nangako na rin naman po natutulong din sa amin sa yung pong mga tiga DOST so that we can evaluate. Pwede rin naman po silang mag-apply.
yung Sinopharm.
Yes sir, kasi may EUA na po sila sa China eh. So they allow it for use in their own country. So that gives us some confidence na yun naman pong safety profile niya ay maganda. Yun nga lang po, dadaan lang po sa expert panel natin.
I take it as a declaration of its potency. Yung declaration nila na it has passed the test because they give it to almost 1 million of their soldiers.
Mataas din po yung early reports nila, more than 80% din po, parang 84% yung efficacy rate. Kaya lang, the final interim report is still not yet published, kaya hindi pa po namin na-access. At hinihintay din po namin para ibibigay naman daw po sa natin, sa expert panel.
Kung mag-ano yan sa iyo, sino pharmaceutical, yun nga, sabi ko, it has passed the test sa kanila. Hindi naman yan sila kung if it is deleterious to their citizens, they would not even attempt to inject one person. Pero marami na, at sabihin ko sa iyo, marami na ang nagpa-injection dito sa Sinopharm. At huwag kang tumingin sa akin na hindi kita kilala.
Wala nga po kaming mahuli, nakatatlong raid na po kami sa Makati tsaka sa Binondo, pero wala naman po kaming nahuli pa.
With Sinopharm, ano talaga totoo? ito na lang ako ang may problema ngayon. For example lang, pwede ako magpabukuna uli pagdating ng Pfizer mo.
Yun, kasi po bagong-bago pa yung mga bakuna, wala pa po tayong experience no doon sa paggamit po ng isang bakuna at ang ibang bakuna pa. Although I think our immunologists here and would say na posible naman po, no? Kaya lang masyado lang pong bago pa kasi, tas iba-iba po yung platform, iba-ibang teknolohiya na hindi pa po siguro tayo ready paghalu-haluin.
Yun ang masakit yung ulo ng iba, hindi ako. Halos sila ang sundalo na tusukan na I have to be frank, I have to tell the truth. I will not force a lie. Marami na nagpatusukan lahat. Up to now, wala akong narinig for the select few, not all soldiers, not all soldiers. Hindi pa kasi policy. If it's a policy now to have them injected with, pero gusto ko mauna sila because I do not want a sickly armed forces and a sickly police. The reason why is that they have to be in good health all the time because they are responsible for the law and order of this country. At ito na marami tayong kalaban dito sa itong mga NPA. But kung tingin mo, may I ask you, kung ang NPA magpatusok sila, would you allow them?
Pag pumunta po kasi po ng barangay health center, baka po hindi naman natin pwedeng i-turn away dahil yung pong ating mga doktor at saka yung mga nurse natin doon na sumumpa po sila, nalakat gagamutin nila at lahat bibigyan na ng serbisyo. So pupunta po siguro ng kusang loob sa health center natin, baka po kailangan bigyan din natin katulad po ng ibang mamamayan.
Bigyan mo tubig. Thank you. The vaccine is available to every Filipino citizen, including the communist NPAs, so that you can fight better and you are healthy, because I know that you will die. Pag hindi talaga kayo naghinto, mamamatay talaga kayo lahat. That's the gospel truth of it. We will make available to you. We will not, in the name of humanity, we will not deny. Kasi yan Pero just to make you healthy so that you will die. Pag hindi kayo nakinto sa puwag, you stop. Kasi yung pera na kinukuha ninyo sa, alam mo, let me just mag-segue ako. It's Christmas time. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year kayong lahat. Pero ito ang tandaan ninyo. Itong mga sundalo na NPA, itong mga lumad, at itong misguided Filipinos for so many years now, you've been fighting almost siguro, mayroon dito ikopon. When the child was born, both husband and wife left to join the NPA. Dito yung nagalit ako, sabi ko, because yung sabi ko, sana yung anak ninyo, katabi nila. Tapos, nakapag-aral na, mag-sailor. Sabi ko nga, doon ka na sa Navy magpunta. Doon ako nagalit. Sabi ko, ipaano ko yung I was not joking. I was really, nagalit ako. Sabi ko, kita mo, iniwan ninyo yung bata ngayon, matangkad pa sa kanila. Ang ano nito is yung pera na ginagamit ng mga leader ninyo ay dugo ng Pilipino yun. We cannot invite investors kasi sinusunog ninyo sa probinsya. Sinusunog ninyo yung mga backhoe, mga tractor. Million yan eh. And you deprive the Filipinos of good infrastructure. Kaya namin ko hindi na magtuloy, magbaback out. Nobody's willing to take unless magbayad. Pero to tell you the truth, to tell the nation the truth, lahat bumibigay. Mga malls, mga lahat bumibigay. Alam ba ninyo yan, mga NPA? Lahat ng malls, ay hindi na ako I won't mention names. Lahat ng malls dito sa Manila, nagbibigay ng taxation sa inyo. Lahat ng hotel. Kaya maraming pera. Pagka milyon-milyon. Look, saan nila pinapaaral yung anak nila? Sa Europe. Itong anak ni Sarate. He wants to talk to me if it is to the best interest of the people. It has nothing to do with the interest of the people. Attorney Sarate, Congressman Sarate, it is a question which I would like to ask you. Saan mo kinukuha yung pera na to finance the study of your son's Europe? Tinignan ko yung lahat ng I cannot read all. But nandito yung sabi mo, sponsored by the Lula. The Lula does not ever have income tax. Walang matanda na. So you are lying actually. And because the money that you finance the study of your child, of your son, is taxation. Ang taxation, ito namang mga kayong mga loko-loko na you allow you nagagap na paggamit kayo ng mga tarantadong itong mga leader ninyo. Sila milyon-milyon. Lahat sabi ko lahat. Lahat ng mina mines companies. Lahat ng mga laging-laging dyan, naglalag-over, nagbibigay yan. Milyon yan. Pero ang sa inyo, hanggang anong binibigay sa inyo? Medisina para sa eksena. Puro at saka malaria. Lahat kayo may malaria niyan. Tapos pasunod-sunod kayo. Totoo yan. Ako nagsabi ako, kaibigan man tayo noon. Kaya lang nung presidente ako, kalaban talaga tayo. Natural. Because mine now is the interest of the nation. Sinasabi ko lang hinto na kayo. Mag-surrender na kayo kasi walang ginawa yung mga leader ninyo. It's plain banditry. There is no more ideological setup in their minds. Ang kanila na lang mag-kill sa mga tao. You're not fighting anything anymore. Not even a religion, if you may. Wala. Pareho talaga kayo ng abusaya. No different. Ako pa sa inyo mag-merge na lang. Totoo yan. Wala kayong ginawa kung hindi you want money to come to your hands through or by virtue of the blood and tears of other Filipinos. Sinisira ninyong bayan. We cannot. Pareho tayo ng aeroplano. Nasabay tayo lahat. Nag-take off tayo. Nandiyan na tayo sa runway. Pero wala tayong lift. hindi tayo umangat. Hanggang endless runway na si tumatawag. Yan ang Pilipinas. Dahil sa inyo. Mainly dahil sa inyo. What disturbs the public order in the Philippines kay kayo. Ang masakit dyan, hindi nyo alam na ang koleksyon ng mga ito sa mga nasa NDF, yung mga leader ninyo, pati si Season, I forgot to paper, this is kasi the proper time. Paano lang ako sabi ko, magsegue lang ako. He's traveling around Europe. Punta-punta pa doon sa mga snow, mag-snow. We are on live. Mabuti, para masabi ko sa kanila, maulol sila. Ay, galit ako sa kanila. God, bring it to the people. Sumurinder na kayo. Ako, pag nag-surrender kayo, bahay. Meron mga kondo na ginagawa ko sa probinsya. Pag nag-surrender kayo, sabi ko na sa sundalo, para kanila yun eh. Sabi ko, bata, pasensya ko na, ibigay na lang natin dito para madali ang pacification campaign. Bigyan ko kayo ng trabaho, sinisundukan ko kayo. Yung test na nandyan, tinuturuan kayo maghanap buhay. Ang inyong sige, hingi na pera doon sa mga tao. Ako pa sa inyo ganito. Kung ayaw talaga ninyo, maghingi, mag-taxation kayo. Hawakan ninyo yung pera. Pagdating ng mga NDF leaders, ikipag-usap sa inyo about, wala ko, ideology natin. There's nothing to talk about. Siguro sine na panood ninyo. Ako pa sa inyo, i-hostage ninyo yung NDF. Maghingi kayo ng ransom. Sabihin ninyo na ang pera, lugi kami. Bigyan ninyo kami. Diyan, suportado ko kayo. I-ransom ninyo yung, i-kidnap ninyo. Hindi ako mag-ano. I will not lift a finger to help those idiots. Kaya libre kayo sa ano? Libre kayo sa vaccine sa COVID. Sabihin ko kay John Carves na lahat ng Pilipino, including you, kasi Pilipino kayo, hindi ito hindi ito gastos sa inyo. Gastos sa ibang tao, ibang Pilipino. Not you. Kayo, extortion ang ginagawa ninyo. Hindi ako ng tawad sa body for the outburst. Hindi ko mapigilan sarili ko eh. Because we arrive at this issue of whether they should be vaccinated. All Filipinos ang amusayap, mag-report lang kayo sa military, sila ang magbakuna sa inyo. So meron pa ba, is there any other thing that we should be hearing?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
can I just request, pakibalik lang yung recommendation. I'd like, sir, for your approval through a motion, perhaps, so that we
Okay.
can approve the recommendation. And if the recommendations might stand improvement, so be it. Can we look at the recommendations, Secretariat, just so we can close this thing?
Okay.
Sa recommendation lang po. Yan po. Number one, sir, is we recommend a strict mandatory quarantine for countries that report new variant. So travelers coming from countries or areas, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, with confirmed new variant shall undergo mandatory completion of the 14-day quarantine regardless of the RT-PCR test results. And then number two, countries with local community transmission of new variant will consider travel restrictions only when transmission of new variant is at the community level. Perhaps the WHO can make a comment here as the source of the information where the community transmissions are happening and which countries for our guidance, Mr. President.
There are 3 recommendations, and I'd like to ask the body if there is any comment. Yes, Secretary Roque.
Mayor, Sir Duque, what about extending the travel ban from the UK? Because it will expire on the 31st.
Again,
Yung extension po of the travel ban from the UK, dahil yung travel ban po natin is only until the 31st of December.
travel ban from here to UK.
Hindi po, from UK to here. Hanggang
Yes.
31 lang po.
As a matter of fact, I'm telling you, there is no way of knowing how this thing would evolve. It is evolving in the train. But how fast is the progression? Wala pa tayong alam. So, yeah, the best way is really to play safe. You put a stop sa travel nila. That is good. Kasali naman siguro yan dyan.
Mayor, in addition, could I add a fourth one then, propose a fourth one? An extension of the travel ban for all flights coming from the UK, including those who transited in the UK for another 2 weeks.
Okay. I accept that. It's good. So, it's amended according to, anyway, meron bang nagsusulat yan? Kayo sa likod? Sila? Mukhang udapter man yung babae dyan. Okay. Number one is amended to include the motion of Secretary Roque. Is there any objection? Any comment? How about the second countries to? Is there a modification that you want to? Or is it complete by itself? I think it is complete by itself. So if there is no objection, no further comment, the recommendation is carried.
Mr. President, how about the face-to-face recall of the face-to-face education? Yung sa face-to-face, Mr. President?
Ay, sinabi ko na, yung face-to-face ni Secretary Brunel, I'm sorry to disappoint her. Hindi ko pwedeng this variant because this variant attacks even young people. Itong COVID original, ipagtamin mo na ano pa itong yawa na ito, selective na. Yung COVID ito, it does not affect so much the young people. They seem to be not vulnerable. Pero itong strain ngayon, they say that it affects the also the young people. So, yung face-to-face na klase wala na yun. We'll just wait for the normal season of schooling. It's vacation, then June. Hopefully, June, baka mag-improve na, mabakunakan na ng mga bata, di okay na.
Mr. President, the Executive Director of the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, ED Dr. Montoya, would like to manifest. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Secretary, and thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd just like to, if it's possible, because it seems to me that the genome sequencing was focused on people coming from the UK. We have to bear in mind that the mutations, as was already repeatedly mentioned by the medical experts, will not only happen from outside of the Philippines, but can also happen within the country, independent of what is happening outside of the country by virtue of burden of disease, infection. So may I suggest that the genomic surveillance as part of the bio-surveillance should be strengthened to include targeted sequencing in high-risk groups, for example, like clusters with increased cases, clusters with increased severity and deaths, because these are actually the indicators for probably new variants arising in the Philippine population. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Ganito yan eh. We are focused on people coming in from UK. But let us see what develops in the coming days. We will meet on the 28th. My take is that passengers or people coming in from countries badly hit, or there's really a full-blown contamination sa, we will include, I think, everybody. Not everybody, but people who we believe come from places where the COVID-19 and the new variant is present and is rapidly contaminating people. On the 28th, hopefully, we will be meeting again and we can see what they will. We have to be very informed of the situation. It is actually evolving in Britain. It is a full-blown one. Dito naman sa iba is mayroon lang 1 or 2 or 3. So we will calibrate our response depending on the severity na tama nila. If they are hit severely, there's a spike now, we might consider everybody coming from, yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, good evening po. We just like po to, una, I feel very heartened po at continuously hearing the importance of surveillance. As someone from the Epidemiology Bureau, napakahalaga po talaga na ang surveillance, siya yung nakakahanap ng sakit. Pero ngayon na wala pa pong bakuna, ang importansya niya ay yung nabanggit niyo po na saan ang pagtaas at bakit po tumataas. At pag dumating po ang COVID vaccine, ang surveillance po magsasabi sa inyo kung effective po yung bakuna natin at nakaka-detect po siya ng mga adverse events para alam natin kailangan bang itigil ang pagbabakuna. Pero i-level up po natin siya, and I think that's what Dr. Jimmy is saying. The biosurveillance or genetic sequencing, hindi naman po kailangan lahat kasi una, it's really expensive and there should be targeted population. At ang una po natin ay yung mga galing UK, Ikalawa po, siguro sampling po ng mga hindi po galing UK, pero galing po sa ibang bansa. Kasi po, hindi natin alam baka yung Hong Kong, ngayon lang po kasi sila nade-detect, pero we don't know. Baka makita na rin po sa ibang bansa yung mga bagong variant na to or iba pa pong variant. At tinabanggit nga ni Dr. Jamie, dito po targeted ang sampling natin. Sino yung may pagtaas, sino yung nagka-cluster, kesyo community po yan, workplace or jails, yun pong mga kung may mga mataas na kaso ng severe disease or pagkamatay. At yung huli po sir, ngayon ang dami na kasi nating kaso na hindi na natin alam saan galing So, hindi ko alam kung kuha siya sa trabaho, sa public transportation. Kailangan, siguro sampling ang term namin. Hindi lahat, pero maliit na porsyento para lang malaman natin saan kaya nanggagaling, sino yung sources of infection at anong setting. Mahalaga po yun sa ekonomiya natin. Kung nakikita natin ang source of infection pala matitrace ako sa workplace, then we know we need to do something sa workplace or sa jails po siya or sa healthcare facility. And that's something that the DOH along with the other agencies will prepare para alam natin ilan to at magkano po yung magagastos natin para po sa biosurveillance na ipapropose po natin. Thank you, Mr. President.
Can you comment on it?
Yes, I support the manifestation of the EB representative, Dr. De Guzman. We should really strengthen in general rather than in specific terms the biosurveillance capacity and in particular the genomic sequencing capacity, because as correctly pointed out, the mutation is not just limited to UK. It can happen everywhere, in fact, so it's best to really characterize these new strains because it will influence to a certain degree our pandemic response. So it is crucial that the biosurveillance capacity be ramped up, and that is why in the number 3 recommendation, which I think deserves an amendment, warrants an amendment, which is not just limiting it to travelers from UK, but really biosurveillance as a whole, the capacity strengthening. Yun lang po, Mr. President.
Ako, nawala sa isip ko Kasi pag uwi ko dyan sa bahay ko, dumating ako kanina, nagbakasyon man lahat. Pati lahat. Ang nahiman yung gwardiya na. Walang luto na. Problema ko sana kung magkain. Order na siguro pa ako ng Yes, actually tama yan. Just to think about it, ponder, then we will know by on the 28th whether we are taking that course correctly. See, yes, ma'am. You want to?
I would like to acknowledge, Mr. President, with your permission, Dr. Xania Carlos, the head of the RITM.
Good evening.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Proposed amendment, sir, for number 3. We wish to amend that only PCR positive samples be referred for sequencing, because it is not useful just to send samples if they are not PCR positive. So it will waste a lot of resources. So proposed amendment is only PCR positive samples will be sent to either the Philippine Genome Center, the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, or the UPNIH. This has been discussed among us earlier. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. President, I agree with the proposed amendment to specifically state that only positive PCR test results, equivalent swab be submitted for genomic sequencing.
So, may the record show that he proposed amendment is accepted, and the original recommendation modified as such. Yes, Secretary Ibarra.
Mr. President, I would just like to add a fourth recommendation. And well, based on our discussions earlier, one very significant thing that I noted was the observation that this new COVID-19 virus has not yet reached Philippine shores. So I guess that our main priority at this time is to ensure that this new virus strain will not enter Philippine territory. So with that, Mr. President, last December 15, you issued an executive order further strengthening our border controls through the adoption of the Advanced Passenger Information System. However, that has not yet been actually implemented because implementing rules and regulations have to be formulated within 16 days from effectivity by the Bureau of Immigration and other relevant government agencies. This system, Mr. President, will authorize the Bureau of Immigration to obtain advanced information from various airlines and carriers about the origin of their individual passengers, their originating flight, their connecting flight, their transit flight, and so many other relevant information. This will serve not only to address security risks, but also health risks. So what I'm proposing, Mr. President, is that we implement this advanced passenger information system immediately. Although the Bureau of Immigration and other relevant agencies have been given 60 days from effectivity to come up with implementing rules and regulations, may I suggest that in view of the urgency of the situation, that the period within which to come up with this IRR be shortened in view of the urgency of the situation. So as soon as the implementing rules and regulations are in place, Mr. President, we can immediately put this into operation, and health risks that may be associated with passengers coming from not only the UK but also from other infected countries may be properly addressed even before the passenger boards the flight coming to the Philippines. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, but that would add a burden to the people from whose country the plane is carrying passengers. So, you want it shortened?
We just want, to direct, if you may, the Bureau of Immigration and the other implementing agencies to come up with the IRR as soon as possible so that we can address this problem immediately. Because we don't know if at any time baka po may makalusot.
You have an idea time there?
Well, we can probably shorten it to 20 to 30 days.
Well, we just go direct to an order. The Secretary of Executive Secretary would order, may pass on the order that they shorten it. In view of the emergency, the crisis.
Yes, Mr. President.
Ano pa ba? Hirap kasi yung makikita natin tapos wala na tayo. 28 pa naman. 26, 27, 28, okay pa. If I can have the pleasure of your presence I promise you a better meal the next time. Kasi dito, sa totoo lang, dito sa there's only, I serve only rice, isang ulam, if you notice it, rice, ulam, pati sabaw. Pati si Ambasad lahat ng, pati yung Secretary of State, Ganon sabi ko na we do not serve steaks here because that's expensive. The people will complain. So ako, Jollibee lang siguro ngayon. Walang tao. I'm thinking of umiikot yung isip ko kung sino kaya ang mayaya gumulong. Kikinig pa naman yung inisip na ito. Madam, ano yan yung sino mga lalaki na bawal naman yung pumasok doon sa ano. Really, there's nobody. There is nobody. The kitchen is empty because the buhay na. So hindi yan sila magkabalik agad because they have to undergo quarantine, so it's useless to call them. Yung mga babae, gano'n rin nagsiuwian. Kaya ako lang, pati yung nurse ko, ang dalawa kami. Sabi ko na sa kanya, okay, you treat me and I will treat you. Let us treat each other. Tayo na lang naiwan dito. So, is there any other thing that we should be talking about or take up? Anything that is not in consonance with good practices? Because kung wala na, then I'd like to remind you again, we will meet on the 28th. Nandito ba sila lahat? Yung mga desilistahan. So, before we end, I'd like to address myself to the people, to the nation, that we are indebted by the presence of the following persons who contribute a lot to what we have discussed and we to improve now. Si Dr. Marisa Alejandria, then we have Dr. Mark Etzel Ayes, then Dr. Celia Carlos, Dr. Altia Di Guzman, Dr. Rolando Enrique, Dr. Nina Goriana, Dr. Teodoro Herbosa, Dr. Jaime Montoya, familiar name, Dr. Ana Lisa T. Ong Lim, Dr. Cynthia Palme Saloma, and Dr. Mario Panaligan. Mga kapatid kong Pilipino, ito yung mga tao na tumutulong sa binasa ko. Huwag ninyo makalimutan, baka yung iba tatakbo ng senador. At least alam na ninyo kung sino yung mga pangalan. Ulitin ko ulit ito. Basta, we have with us in this meeting Filipino doctors who are really concerned with the welfare of their countrymen. They are here to help us out because we are not medical persons. They contribute and we just listen and implement in more ways than one the recommendations. So maraming pasalamat ako sa kanila and to the kayong lahat mga Pilipino, wala pa namang bakuna. Kasi mayroon tayong pera, wala nang problema. We have the money, we can buy. Problem is of supply. Kaya maghintay tayo kasi inuuna nila the countries who manufactured the vaccines see to it that ang nauna yung kanila bago tayo, which is natural, and that is natural of a human being. Parang yung kadugo niya muna mauna, mga anak nila. So we'll just wait. Anyway, General Galvez is there. At huwag kayong maniwala dyan sa mga ano na mga vaccine coming in. Wala yan. Ang tawag niyan, istorya lang yan. So, maraming salamat sa lahat ninyo, doctors, at magandang gabi sa inyo lahat.
Dec.26, regional bang may nakamamatay